When cheap becomes a national religion, someone always bleeds in the corner. There's a feast raging across the nation, a bacchanal of bargain basement prices. But in this frenzy, who is truly footing the bill? A single government decree has just slammed the brakes on the party, and in doing so, it has ripped away more than just a pricing model. It has peeled back the glossy, high-tech skin of an entire industry to reveal the brutal, Darwinian nightmare underneath. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and fellow cogs in the machine, today we're going to talk about the bombshell that just detonated in the cutthroat world of ride-hailing. The city of Xi'an dropped a regulatory hammer, effectively outlawing the fixed price and special discount fares offered by the big platforms. The moment the news broke, drivers' group chats erupted in a cacophony of digital gongs and firecrackers. In the passenger camp, a great wail of sorrow echoed across the land. And the platforms? A serene calm on the surface, but you can bet their coders were hammering keyboards so hard they were spitting sparks. Make no mistake, this wasn't a simple price adjustment. This was a lit fuse, a fuse called the race to the bottom, finally reaching the powder keg of grievances that has been accumulating in the ride-hailing world for years. So let's dissect this cheap pie, shall we? And let's count just how many drops of human misery and how many gaping, bloody maws of capital are baked into it. First, what is this dark magic of fixed-price fares? It's simple, really. The platform, our omniscient digital god, divines a set price for your journey. It matters not if the road ahead is clogged like a constipated colon or if your driver has to loop the third ring road 3 times. You pay what the app first quoted. The passenger, naturally, is ecstatic. My word, it's cheap, transparent, and brain-dead simple, more satisfying than haggling at the wet market, a true blessing for the working class. But here's an iron law of commerce. When a free lunch falls from the sky, it's because someone else is paying for it. And in this case, the someone is your driver. Imagine this, you're a driver. You accept a fixed price trip for 20 RMB. The moment you start, you hit a traffic jam from hell. Your gas gauge or your EV's battery meter plummets faster than a disgraced official's career. Time, your most precious commodity, trickles away. Yet the fare on the app remains as immovable as a stone Buddha. While the passenger in the back cackles at TikToks, you're gripping the steering wheel, the beads of your mental abacus about to shatter against your skull. Gas, electricity, car depreciation, insurance, and the platform's commission, a sly beast that can secretly claw back 27% or more. By the end of this journey, forget profit. You're lucky if you haven't paid for the privilege of serving. This isn't driving for a living, it's a mobile charity, a flesh and blood nonprofit making in-kind donations to a multi-billion-dollar tech giant. You are quite literally a philanthropist in a driver's seat. But the real kicker, the truly inspired villainy, is what happens if you dare to refuse these soul-crushing fares. The platform, our algorithmic overlord, immediately puts you in digital stocks. Your order volume plummets off a cliff, leaving you to contemplate the meaning of life while sipping the cold northwest wind by the roadside. Or, it'll slash your service score, ensuring that any decent fares in the future become permanently invisible to you. Leaked internal rules from a top platform show that rejecting a special offer, fare docks you 8 points. Drop below 90, and you lose access to premium orders. It's a system of pure, unadulterated algorithmic gaslighting. Even their fatigue protection, a mandatory 20-minute break after 8 hours, is diabolically timed to sever the morning and evening rush hours, the only times you can make real money. This isn't a policy, it's a digital ultimatum. Work by our soul-crushing rules or starve. The platform wields its algorithm like a whip, herding drivers into a prisoner's dilemma, strapping them to the front of a low-price war machine as human fuel. So why did Xi'an's Transport Bureau finally flip the table? They were buried in an avalanche of driver complaints, a mountain of tear-stained reports that practically blocked the doors to their offices. And the numbers don't lie, they sing a song of pure misery. The first quarter of this year, the average daily ride-hailing orders in Xi'an shrank by 17% from last year. The pie got smaller. Meanwhile, with over 80,000 licensed ride-hailing cars in the city, the average number of trips per car per day plummeted from 14.3 to a paltry 10.2. The average hourly wage for a driver has crashed from 28 RMB 3 years ago to 16.5 RMB today. That's 3 yuan less than a food delivery rider. To scrape by, drivers have stretched their average workday from 10 hours to a grueling 12.5. They are racing to the bottom and they are winning. The result? After a 12-hour slog, the average car's daily revenue is about 324 RMB. That's revenue asterisk, not profit. Subtract fuel, car rental or loan payments, insurance, maintenance, and the terrifyingly expensive battery degradation on an EV. Throw in the occasional traffic fine. Some drivers who have done the math found they were lucky to take home 200 RMB. In a provincial capital like Xi'an, after food and rent, You'd have to tighten your belt until it fuses with your spine to support a family. This isn't ride-hailing. It's trading your life for pocket change. It's a slow-motion suicide for chump change. No wonder they're protesting. Jack Ma's infamous 996 is a blessing, looks like a cushy retirement package compared to this. And don't think for a second this is just Xian's story. This is a nationwide documentary on the survival of the gig economy worker. From Guangdong to Henan, local governments are waking up and inviting the platforms for tea. The core message is always the same. Stop this suicidal, below-cost dumping. The platforms, wielding big data as their chopping block and algorithms as their cleaver, treat drivers like meat. On one hand, they use absurdly low prices to hook passengers, addicting them to the drug of cheapness to harvest their data and traffic. On the other, they transfer every conceivable risk, traffic jams, rising fuel costs, detours, onto the driver's shoulders. It's a masterful game of playing both ends against the middle, and they are the only ones winning. The national statistics are even more damning. In the first half of 2024, total ride orders grew by a mere 5.2%, while the number of drivers exploded by 32% to 7.6 million. The market is saturated. There are more wolves than sheep. And when that happens, the platform has absolute power to squeeze. And you, dear passenger, don't you dare smirk from the back seat, thinking you've won the lottery. That 10 or 20 yuan you saved, it might be a down payment on a time bomb. When a driver knows a fixed-price trip is a guaranteed loss, what does human nature compel them to do? First, service quality evaporates. Air conditioning, a luxury. The car's interior becomes a heady cocktail of cigarette smoke, sweat, and despair. Second, they start taking risks. They'll drive like maniacs to make up for lost time, hard braking, aggressive lane changes, treating your journey like a qualifying lap at Monaco. The risk of fatigue-related accidents skyrockets. A major insurance company report is even more terrifying. 63% of ride-hailing accidents occurred after the driver had been working for over 10 hours. Fatigue is the cancer of this industry. Is the pittance you saved worth a white-knuckle ride and a potential trip to the emergency room? Even more insidious is the long game. If we allow platforms to use predatory pricing as a weapon to slaughter the competition, traditional taxis, smaller players, what happens when they achieve a monopoly? Friends, we've all seen this movie before. Think food delivery. Think shared bikes. The first act after a monopoly is established. Jack up the prices, squeeze the customer. They'll use big data to kill the familiar, identifying loyal users, wealthy users, or people in a desperate hurry, and present them with a personalized and grotesquely inflated fare. Every cent you saved today will be clawed back with interest tomorrow. The scythe of capital never swings late, and it never misses. Publicly traded ride-hailing companies' financial report revealed the magic. In Q2 2024, their marketing expenses dropped 18%, but their net profit grew by 23%. The secret was in the black box. During peak hours, they dialed the commission on special offer rides up to 27%. During lulls, they disguised it as a discount and lowered it to 14%. And the piece de resistance, dynamic price discrimination. Same route, same time, but an iPhone user was quoted 12% higher than an Android user. A loyal customer was charged 18% more than a new one. In this grand feast of exploitation, the platform always sits at the head of the table, untouched. So, Xian's move to hit the pause button isn't just about taking away the passengers' cheap booze. It's about yanking the emergency brake on an industry about to fly off the rails. It's about leaving a sliver of breathing room for drivers on the brink of burnout. It's about preventing a total market collapse that leads to a far more vicious monopolistic harvest down the line. But this is a tourniquet, not a cure. The disease runs deep. The platform's pricing black box remains sealed. Commission rates are a state secret. Drivers have zero bargaining power against the almighty algorithm. The national oversupply of cars creates a vicious cycle of involution that's almost impossible to break. So what's the real solution? First, we take a scalpel to the black box of commissions. Platform take rates must be as clear as a supermarket price tag. How much do you take? Why? Where do subsidies come from, and where do they go? It needs to be written clearer than a college entrance exam essay. Anyone caught with shady contracts or hidden fees gets fined into oblivion. Second, we must lance the boil of overcapacity. Regulators can't be blind anymore. They must have the courage to monitor market saturation and, when the red light flashes, slam the door on new vehicle registrations. Stop letting rental companies use get-rich-quick fantasies to lure a fresh crop of human leaks into the grinder. Third, we must smash the algorithmic cage. Give drivers a shred of agency. During rush hour, bad weather, or late nights, allow drivers to reasonably adjust fares and let passengers choose to accept. Stop treating human beings like perpetual motion machines. Drivers are not robots. They need rest, security, and a tiny bit of control over their own destiny. And to the platforms, stop using low prices as your nuclear option. That strategy is stale and rotten. Compete on genuine service. Optimize your dispatching algorithm to reduce drivers' empty miles. Actually invest in customer service. Maybe even try innovating with premium services, pet-friendly rides, child seat-equipped cars, and let good drivers earn more for providing better service. This gunshot from Xi'an has torn a hole in the glossy facade of the ride-hailing industry. This isn't a squabble over a few yuan. It's a battle for the soul of the gig economy. It's about the bottom line of fairness, of a worker's dignity, of an industry's right to breathe. Capital is greedy by nature, but it doesn't have to be vampiric. Technology is a tool for efficiency, but it must not be heartless. Regulation must be decisive, not just a game of whack-a-mole. In the end, the platform, the driver, and the passenger are not in a zero-sum game. They are bound together on the same ship. For that ship to finally navigate out of these treacherous waters, a balance must be found. Is it a surreal state of affairs? No, this is the brutal, unvarnished law of the commercial jungle. Hitting the pause button is the beginning of a reckoning, not the end of the problem. This high-stakes drama is far from its final act. Just remember the old saying, for everything the fates bestow upon you for free, a price has already been secretly marked. A worthy world is one where laborers can stand tall, where consumers aren't played for fools, and where capital makes its money within the bounds of decency. The road is long. We'll be watching. Now, if you'll permit me a moment of reflection, as the ancients might have put it, the algorithm in darkness laughs unseen, while the driver's empty pockets keen. The passenger applauds the bargain fare, unaware of the life burned into air. The platform feasts on surging streams of gold. A story under crushing wheels, untold. Think not this cheapness comes without its cost. In hidden fees, a soul is truly lost. A single order shakes this brutal game. But on whose back will fall the final blame? Thank you for your time. We'll see you for the next episode of this tragicomedy.